lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I am here to share 22 books that I want to read in 2022. This wasn't necessarily a video I was intending on filming until I watched a bunch of these videos here in the booktuber community, and then I felt the FOMO. I felt like I was almost peer pressured into making this video. I'm not necessarily saying that I wouldn't have done it without many people. I probably wouldn't have, but at the very same time, do I enjoy making TBR videos? Of course I do. I make them all the time. A bunch of you guys are here for them, and I'm here to make them. The books that I'm specifically mentioning today, I am trying not to mention sequels. I might mention like 1 or 2 sequels, but I've done my best to make sure that they're either like starts to a series or books that I have had on my backlist for a while that I'm less likely to pick up, or standalones that I don't have my eye on as frequently because I am mostly reading series. I've got a combination of all these kinds of books today. I'm also not going to be mentioning any anticipated releases. I've done far too many videos where I do mention books that are yet to come. Rather, I'm going to be focusing on my current TBR. I was also inspired by the fact that I've recently cataloged everything on my TBR. Currently, I have over 300 TBR books. There are a bunch of people here on BookTube that have more than that, and there are a bunch of people who have less than that, but I would ideally want to get that down and focus on the books that I currently own because, you know, your girl likes to haul stuff, so if she can at least focus on reading the books that she has before she hauls more, that would be great. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to get into my 22 books that I want to read in 2022. The first book I want to bring up is Dreamology by Lucy Keating. The reason why I bring this one up is because I've had this on my TBR for years now, and I always eyed it in bookstores, but I purchased it because I was always eyeing it in bookstores. Now I'm pretty much eyeing it on my shelf. Am I ever gonna read it? I don't know. We'll see. And I really hope that 2022 is the year I finally act upon that, because I'm pretty sure I hauled this back in 2018. And I don't necessarily read young adult contemporary that much. Apparently this is a magical realism young adult contemporary, so that's why I'm still inclined to keep it. I think that it needs to happen soon, or else I'll probably have to be inclined to eventually unhaul it if I'm just never going to read it, but if it's just going to take up space, and that's all it's going to do. The next book I want to get to this year is A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. I have really wanted to read this one since it first came out last year because I've heard buzz about it, everybody's raving about it. Also, I'm very much getting into the new adult romance fantasy genre, so that is giving me more incentive to pick this one up eventually, but I really do want to do it this year because I feel like I've put it off for a while. While I do like waiting for sequels, and I know the sequel's coming out this year, I really do just want to actually sink my teeth into it. I love a good binge read, but this is a 500-page book. So I feel like even though I would wait closer to the sequel to read the second book, I'm still probably gonna get a good binge read out of this first book alone. So I do want to read it and let you guys know my thoughts on it eventually. The third book I want to bring up is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And personally, I think I'm the most inclined to pick this romance novel up because it has demisexual representation, which I do want to see more in my romance novels. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to see myself represented, you know? And the fourth book that I want to get to in 2022 is Half-Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I at least want to start the series because I originally DNF'd the first book because I was in the mood for a fantasy that was more richer rather than a paranormal young adult romance. So that's what I ended up doing. I'm not saying that I put it down because it was bad, because, you know, I would have probably been more intrigued if I was in the mood to read it, but I'm hoping that this year I'm in the mood to read the series and I will finally read the Covenant Saga and let you guys know my thoughts on it, because I do want to check more of Jennifer L. Armentrout's books out, because the paranormal romance, sometimes I feel it, you know, sometimes that's the mood that I'm in. So I'm definitely saving this series for that mood, but I don't think that I should just keep saving it because I keep on saying that I'm saving it for a specific mood, but I should just do it eventually, you know? The fifth book I want to mention is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. Yes, I've read A Touch of Darkness. Yes, I've read A Court of Mist and Fury, but I think it's about time for another Hades and Persephone retelling to take the cake here. And I've been hearing absolute rave reviews about Neon Gods, so I think that it's about time that I let Neon Gods into my heart. I've noticed that I am more inclined to pick up a Hades and Persephone related series than I am with a standalone. I mean, standalones I'm usually like a little bit standoffish from, and I hear that Electric Idol is also really good, and I can technically read Electric Idol no matter what because it's technically a companion novel. I think the worlds kind of intertwine in some way, but I think I've been waiting to read Neon Gods for too long, so I think it's about time that I actually just bite the bullet and do it. What can go wrong? The sixth book I want to bring up is the first book in the Layla trilogy, and that is Shadows of Layla. This, I believe, is probably the first book I purchased from Cassandra Odette. What do you know? I currently own 5 physical books on my TBR by Cassandra Odette. Oh my goodness. I actually need to get a move on with reading her work. I at least want to get started on this trilogy and let you guys know how it goes. And if you've watched my goals video for 2022, I've also mentioned that I want to read more independently published authors, and I am growing a TBR just on one shelf alone, but there are many independently published authors on my TBR now, so I just really need to start reading their books rather than just accumulate them and accumulate them only. Speaking of independently published authors, I have another independently published series that I do want to get to. The first book being Fly with the Arrow by Sarah K.L. Wilson. This cover, absolutely gorgeous, but I really do need to read the series because I've heard great things from people I know who have really enjoyed the series. Like, I was first intrigued in the series due to the cover, but oh my goodness, I actually finally need to dive in and read it, considering that I've been so excited about these book covers. And you know, I pretty much cover bought them, but I need to pretty much do what I said previously and actually read the independently published authors that are on my shelf. And going along with that pattern, I've got Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello. I've been intimidated by this book similarly to what I said about Neon Gods. This is a companion series, but it's a companion series that follows siblings. I believe it follows sisters. I really do need to learn how to not be intimidated by companion series because I am. I understand that, yes, they do kind of like have some sort of connection in the same world, but sometimes I just don't want to let go of certain characters. I think it's a similar struggle with standalones for me. Companion series, I feel the exact same way for. That really does need to change, and I'm hoping that in 2022 I break the cycle and I actually hammer down, read the books, and let you know how I feel about them so that I can recommend more. And this one is, I believe, a standalone. No, I don't know if it's a standalone. I think it might have a sequel, but I will surely let you know once I get invested in it. The book I have to bring up next is Master of Crows by Grace Draven. There are some really cool series by Grace Draven that I've been seeing everywhere. You know, I've mostly seen Radiance everywhere. There are a few others, but I believe that series is not yet complete. But oh my goodness, I am so excited to read Radiance as well. But I've decided that Master of Crows was going to be the first book that I do want to prioritize my TBR because it has just been sitting on my shelves, not being touched. I mean, with Radiance, I kind of have a bit more of a reason because this sequel, or like I think the 3rd or 4th book, has been delayed for years and hasn't gone into like printing or anything. So what I'm gonna do is read Master of Crows and give Grace Draven's writing a try, and I'll let you know how I feel about it. Also, how beautiful is this cover? It is absolutely stunning. And now I'm gonna step away from fantasy paranormal for a minute. I'm gonna talk about Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I do want to challenge myself to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books this year, and I've decided that Daisy Jones and the Six is the one that I'm bringing up for this video. I think the reason why I'm bringing this one up in my video is because, you know, I've read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Honestly, I adore that book, but I haven't read anything else by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this book is like the 2nd most hyped book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and everybody has been raving about it since it first came out. So I've decided that I'm no longer gonna put it off, considering that this year I am getting out of my comfort zone and now I'm reading more books that are not necessarily in series. I'm going to finally prioritize it this year so that I can read it and let you guys know my thoughts, but also so I can read it and enjoy it myself, because I've really been holding myself back from having a good time with this book. Now, I mentioned a Haruki Murakami book. I've challenged myself to get back into his writing this year, and I've decided that the book that I definitely want to aim to get to is A Wild Sheep Chase by Haruki Murakami. I feel like I've read a bunch of his most notorious works, such as Norwegian Wood, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, Kafka on the Shore. A Wild Sheep Chase is also very highly praised and acclaimed by him. The problem is, it's actually the 3rd book in a 4-book series called The Rat. I've actually read the first 2 novellas, but I forgot everything about them. So in order to read A Wild Sheep Chase, I've got to read those novella-length books because I want to remember what happened in them. And A Wild Sheep Chase is not even really that much of a long book. It's like just under 300 pages. So I'm very much looking forward to checking this one out because I hear great things about A Wild Sheep Chase, and apparently it's the best in the Rat series. Next, I want to prioritize Heartstopper Volume 1. I am so excited for Heartstopper. I remember when Alice Oseman first announced Heartstopper and everybody's really excited about it. The problem is I've actually never read anything by Alice Oseman, and I think I need to change that. I know that I don't necessarily read young adult contemporary anymore. However, I might change my mind with Alice Oseman if I end up really loving Heartstopper. I do want to read Loveless, considering that I am also on the asexual spectrum, and give Alice Oseman's writing a shot. And now I bring a companion sequel up, and that, my friends, is A Dance with the Fae Prince by Elise Kova. This is the second book in the Married to Magic series, and I'm putting it on this list because, once again, I'm pretty intimidated by companion series. That is indeed why I put off the first book in this series for so long, and I only read it toward the end of last year. I really do need to change that, and I hear that Fae Prince is apparently everybody's favorite book in the series so far. This book is also a Psyche and Eros retelling, so I'm very much looking forward to giving this a shot and letting you guys know how I feel about it. And the next book I want to read this year is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I don't actually know whether I do want to read the entire Caraval series before this, but what I do know is that I want to get to Once Upon a Broken Heart. I know that not everybody loves it, but the people who do love it absolutely love it. Not everybody who loves Caraval enjoys Once Upon a Broken Heart, and not everybody who has read Once Upon a Broken Heart enjoyed Caraval. I found the first book of Caraval to be okay. I don't know how I'd go with the rest of the trilogy. However, I do want to meet one of the characters who was introduced in the series. This series is their main book. I do want to meet them in Caraval to see kind of their backstory, because this book does technically spoil Caraval. What I do know is that I am probably the most motivated because I want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. And the next book I want to read this year is Iron Widow. I have talked about this a few times on my channel. I really want to read it because I really love the concept of it. I didn't expect it to be a sci-fi reimagining of history, but I mean, that's really cool. I'm over the moon about it. Like, I really am very much curious to check this one out, and I really need to get onto this meme. Yes, I said meme because the author technically said that they were memed to the New York Times bestsellers list. So I want to be on the meme. Next, I mention The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I am mostly intimidated by this because I know it's not going to end well. I've put it off for years. I remember when I first heard about it, and everybody just started talking about it, and then TikTok came and made it a sensation again, and everyone's talking about it now. And then there's this beautiful edition that came out, and I was finally peer pressured into buying it. Now I need to be peer pressured into reading it. I mean, technically I am peer pressured into reading it because I think I put it off for so long because, number one, I'm really bad with standalones, and number two, sad story, hello. Speaking of sad stories, They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I've never really been interested in reading anything by Adam Silvera. I've mentioned this before. I'm not necessarily interested in young adult contemporary anymore. Also, I'm not interested in Infinity Sun, considering it hasn't really got the most promising reviews. However, They Both Die at the End has always been the title from them that I've been intrigued by the most. And you know, considering how much hype it's gotten on the book internet after all these years, to the point that the publisher made a collector's edition of it, that's when you know that it's doing something right, that it's probably actually a really good book that everybody should read, regardless of whether they read young adult contemporary or not. So I do have to say that this book from Adam Silvera, I definitely do want to give a try. I think that this is just going to be another tragic love story, and I'm just gonna have to sit through it. And the next book I have to bring up on this list is a part of the shrine of independently published fiction I have on my TBR, and that, my friends, is Rebel's Blade by Frost K. I've got this entire series on my shelf waiting to be read, all 6 books, and I just need to read them. I just know that I am gonna be in for a new fantasy series. Like, I just want to read more fantasy romance. I don't actually know whether this is a young adult series or a new adult series, but regardless, I'm in. I'm in it to win it. I am hopefully going to really enjoy the series because I've heard absolutely great things about Frost K's writing. So I need to give Frost K's writing a chance. And they like publish like 2 or 3 books per year, so like super exciting stuff. Hopefully I will get into more of their books, but you know, I actually just need to read one of their series first. And the next book I want to read in 2022 is Defy the Night. I put this on many 2021 TBRs. You know, that time is over. That time's literally over because we're no longer in 2021, so there's that. I just want to finally read this book and want to be in on the hype because I hear great things about Defy the Night. And you know, I'm not really a big fan of Robin Hood or like the Robin Hood reimagining stories, like whatever. I've never really been inclined to the idea of Robin Hood. However, I might just change my mind as I read Defy the Night because Bridget Kemmerer is an excellent storyteller. Even though I didn't really like the Cursebreakers trilogy as a whole, I really loved the first book, and I reckon that the Beauty and the Beast elements were retold very much perfectly in that first book alone. So I'm hoping that Defy the Night will defy my expectations. Haha, see what I did there? The next book I want to read in 2022 is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. I at least want to read another book by Brittany Cavallaro because we're not going to get the sequel to Muse, and I really hope that we do and it did not get cancelled, because that would be tragic. Because the first book, Muse, was absolutely incredible, in my opinion. I understand that not everybody has the same opinion as me, but I loved it. And I reckon that Brittany Cavalara's writing is just going to get better and better as I read it. I'm really hoping that her former creations, the Sherlock Holmes series, will impress me just as much as Muse did, because oh boy, I'm still having withdrawals from that first book. And then I'm gonna mention Once More Upon a Time by Roshani Chokshi. Pretty sure this is gonna be fairly easy. It is literally 132 pages. I don't think that this one's going to bother me at all, but yeah, you know, I do want to read more by Roshani Chokshi, and I have mentioned that I do want to get to the Star Touch Queen duology this year as well. I didn't want to be repetitive and mention that one again, and that one's more of a reread anyway. I am very much looking forward to reading more from Roshani Chokshi, and I'm hoping that Once More Upon a Time will impress me. The second last book that I want to bring up on this list today is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. I've also mentioned this in many 2021 lists as well, and we've passed that time. 2022 is probably going to be the year, I say probably, but it needs to be the year that I finally read Vespertine and let you guys know my thoughts, because I'm hearing good things about Vespertine. I have started this book on 2 occasions and I've put it down because I've just wanted to read something else, but I need to get into that dark fantasy mood so I can indeed fully immerse myself in this world and enjoy it as much as everybody else does. I literally have 2 special editions of this book. I really do need to read it, because what's the point of getting special editions of this book if I'm just going to put it off for days and months and years? I don't know. Let's not put it off for years, G-Swizz. Let's actually read it. And the final book that I want to mention on this list that I do want to read in 2022 is Rhapsodic, the first book in the Bargainer trilogy. Yes, I have the bind up, so you guys might be thinking, oh, G-Swizz, you're challenging yourself to read this as your final book. No, I'm going to challenge myself to read the first book in this trilogy. Even though I do want to read the trilogy as a whole, I really do at least want to get to Rhapsodic. I'm pretty sure like this whole TBR is not like full series. For me, this is like 1 book per series essentially, because I want to challenge myself to read more on a broader spectrum, because my TBR is so large. But yes, the end goal of this video and the end goal of the year is to make sure I read as many series on my TBR as I possibly can, but I'm still reading broadly beyond series. So with the Bargainer trilogy, I do want to read the entire series this year, because I put it off many times last year, and I probably put it off for good reason. I put it off because I knew I was going to get intimidated by it. And you know, as much as I do love revisiting comfort series, I can't keep doing that all the time. I gotta find new comfort series. I reckon the Bargainer is gonna be a new comfort series for me. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of this video, leave me the book stack emoji. I love to see that emoji every time. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also I have social media. I'm at gswizzlebooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.